The most attractive men are those who like and respect women. A woman's body count doesn't matter.
I hate it when so-called dating experts give this advice that is so out of touch. It's obvious that they're either grifting or they're just stupid. I watched this video where former dating coach turned self-help author Mark Manson debated against people in the manosphere, and I didn't know much about this guy going into it, but holy moly is this guy out of touch. I guess he's technically a millennial, but from everything he was saying, you'd think he was a boomer. I mean, seriously, this guy's perception of the modern dating market reminds me a lot of how boomers think about the economy. His dating advice is the equivalent of just walk in there with a firm handshake and a confident attitude. The two most ridiculous claims Mark Manson made that I'm going to be responding to are his claims that 1. Body count doesn't matter, and 2. That the most attractive men are those that respect women.
A woman's body count doesn't matter.
One of the arguments, I guess you could call it, that Mark tries to make concerning the body count issue, he does this thing that you'll often see in any online discussions on the topic where he implies that, well, a woman could technically have a high body count even if everyone she slept with was someone she was in a relationship with.
What if they're in committed, loving relationships? What if it's been like a long series of 2-3 year relationships over 10, 15 years?
I think this line of questioning is very disingenuous because later on he does make the argument that body count doesn't matter even in cases when a woman was just sleeping around outside of relationships. So I don't know why he starts with this point. Kind of seems like he's trying to bury the lead. You know, he's trying to start with a more agreeable point at first so he can then move on to trying to get you to agree with his actual argument. But regardless of that, let's just think about this. If a woman had a series of 2 to 3 year long relationships over a period of, say, 15 years, then at worst, her body count is going to be, what, 5 to 7? And by that time, she'd be in her 30s. So, two things. First of all, I think a lot of guys wouldn't even consider that to be a high body count. It's certainly higher than most would want, I think, but it is on the lower end of what might be considered a high body count. Secondly, even ignoring the body count aspect, it absolutely should be a red flag for a woman to have been in a long, uninterrupted string of 2 to 3 year long relationships over a period of 10 to 15 years. That's a huge red flag. Why has she had so many breakups? Even if she was the one that always got dumped or cheated on or whatever, well, that either means she's really bad at choosing men, so horrible judgment, not exactly a trait I'm looking for in a woman, or it could mean that she's just a horrible partner. A woman that I would consider to be marriage material is a woman that knows when she's got a good man and isn't always trying to find someone better. I think most men would agree. We don't want a woman that's always chasing excitement. We want a woman that's going to stand by our side through the hard times. A woman that understands that to make a relationship work, both people are going to have to make some compromises at times. And if a woman has been in multiple 2 to 3 year long relationships over a 10 to 15 year period, then I think it's very unlikely she is a woman that possesses those marriage material qualities. In most cases, that woman is probably a woman that's always chasing excitement and she's just not willing to settle down. But real quick, I want to take a second to talk about why this shit matters, because anytime I talk about all the dating struggles men are facing these days, I always get all these comments talking about, bro, who cares? Just go on the hub and take care of it yourself. Listen, that's not going to solve the problem. I have watched a lot of adult content in the past, and not only is that not a replacement for real life intimacy, I would even go so far as to say that frequently consuming that type of content is actively bad for you. And trust me, I know how hard it is to quit. I've tried several times over the years, and I don't think I've ever managed to resist for any significant amount of time. Willpower alone was never enough. But what if I told you you don't have to just depend on your own willpower? There's an app called Urge that can help you stop watching porn for good. The way it works, anytime you feel that familiar urge coming on, you just open up the app, hit the panic button, and it'll walk you through it in real time. So instead of caving in, which you know you're gonna regret, you can just get on with your day. And listen, Urge is more than just a blocker or a streak counter. Urge's 100-day program is designed to help you understand the underlying causes of why you watch porn in the first place and how you can address those underlying causes in a healthy way that doesn't cost you. One cool feature that Urge has is the daily reminders it gives you to read your personal vision statement so you can make sure you keep the promises you make to yourself. Click the link in the description or the pinned comment to try Urge today and make sure you use promo code LOSER for a special discount. Thank you to Urge for sponsoring this video. Okay, now back to it.
A body count it's just one piece of data, and I think it's a pretty arbitrary piece of data because people change, they have complicated life stories. You have to address the individual in front of you, not just the number.
Past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior. Okay, I agree that people can change. However, most people do not change that much in terms of thrill-seeking behavior over a period of, say, 10 to 20 years. And when it comes to relationships, especially when we're talking about someone that you're probably considering spending the rest of your life with, someone you're evaluating on their ability to join you in bringing new life into this world and their ability to help guide that new life through all the ups and downs, this shit is important. Actions speak louder than words. You got to consider the fact that women know that men don't like floozies. Okay, everybody knows that. So women have an incentive to mislead a man into thinking that she has changed, even if she hasn't. Even if she really does crave to keep riding the carousel. Now, I'm not saying there aren't any good, honest women out there, and I do believe people can change, but I'm not betting on it. All kinds of people will say all kinds of things to try to get their way. The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. I don't care how well you think you know someone. If you want to predict how they will act in the future, then you need to consider their past. That is more revealing than anything a person could say.
On the list of things that you should be concerned about, that you should be worried about, it is so low on that list that you shouldn't even think about it. You should be primarily concerned is she trustworthy? Do you communicate well? Is she fun to be around? Do you have shared values? What she's done in the past is a very, very tiny, tiny factor in all of those things.
Even if we assume that Mark Manson is a superb judge of character, okay, let's say he can read a person like a book. He knows when a woman is lying. He knows when she's telling the truth. Okay, well, then maybe in his case, he could accurately evaluate a woman's fitness for marriage and motherhood and everything else, despite her having a troubling past. That's a big maybe, by the way. But either way, even if we give him that, this advice is so dangerous to be giving to men as just a general point of advice because most people are not great at judging a person's character. The average person falls for all sorts of scams and grifts. You shouldn't be telling men to just disregard a woman's past because all that matters is her future, blah, blah, blah. That's horrible advice. You're setting men up for failure. Let me say this again. Past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior. By the way, look at this guy in the background when Mark's saying all this dumb shit. My man is baffled over here, as he should be.
Somebody who is dating somebody or marrying somebody who's very sexually experienced, they have had a lot of different experiences, so they're gonna have a better understanding of what they like, what they want, and so when they commit to you, they're making a much better formed commitment.
Absolutely insane. A woman that has slept around excessively probably just has a severe lack of impulse control. Or perhaps she had some sort of emotional issues or mental illness or personality disorder that causes her to frequently engage in thrill-seeking behavior. He's acting as if most women that sleep around are like connoisseurs of the human experience or some shit. That just means she knows what she likes, so that good thing. What a low IQ take, you fucking caveman. Hey Mark, I know this might sound crazy to your retarded normie brain, but I don't want a woman that knows what she likes sexually. I would rather us figure that out together. Also, people that have more experience with a certain activity are more likely to eventually develop a taste for more extreme versions of that activity. Okay, so in this case, that would be a woman developing more degenerate tastes over time. I don't want that, and I don't want to have the knowledge that my sweetheart has developed those tastes through her experiences with other men. You can call me insecure for that if you want. And sure, maybe there is an element of insecurity to it. I will readily admit that part of why I wouldn't want to be with a woman with a high body count is because I would be embarrassed to be with her knowing that so many other men have had that intimate experience with her. But so what if that stems from insecurity? Why should I care? I'm not trying to be the most secure man I can be. I'm trying to live a peaceful, happy life the best I can. You know, when you have an insecurity about something, you can either work on trying to convince yourself to not be insecure about that, or you can just avoid that which causes the feelings of insecurity, depending on how avoidable that thing is. In my opinion, it makes more sense to acknowledge those feelings and think about, well, if it's logical to have this insecurity, then maybe I should let that insecurity inform my decision making. So that's what I do. But you do you, Mark. You can feel free to get married to an OF model if you really don't think it matters. Let me tell you, I'm real impressed with how secure you are. Okay, so now let's move on to the claim that the most attractive men are those who like and respect women. Now, I'll go ahead and save you some time and let you know that at no point during this debate does Mr. Manson say anything of substance, but I think it's interesting to take a look at some of the arguments he makes because these are the kinds of justifications people will use when they're trying to downplay the importance of looks.
There is a third type of guy who is just not transactional and is like, this is who I am. I like you. Do you want to go out? And if she says yes, great. If she says no, great. He's going to go find somebody else.
Yeah.
Those are the most attractive men.
This is something you'll hear time and time again if you ever listen to any of these dating gurus or red pill grifters online. Basically, what he's saying is that women are attracted to confidence, and it's the whole concept of the abundance mentality. I know he didn't use that terminology, but make no mistake, that is exactly what he's promoting here. He's saying that the most attractive trait a man can have, and he is implying this is more attractive even than being good looking. He's saying the most attractive trait a man can have is the willingness to walk away.
And if she says yes, great. If she says no, great. He's going to go find somebody else.
Yeah.
Those are the most attractive men.
Okay, let's think about this for a second. Now, I am in agreement that women probably do find a man extra attractive if they can tell he's not invested in them. You know, if a woman can tell that you have other options, that shows social proof. It's evidence that you must be desirable because it seems like apparently you must be desired by enough other women that you don't even care whether you get with her or not. That just makes sense. But there's a couple problems with the argument that the abundance mindset is the most attractive trait a man can have, because it's actually not even that important. Okay, so why do I say the whole abundance mentality thing isn't actually all that important when it comes to attracting women? For one, the only benefit of the abundance mindset is that it gives you some social proof. But no amount of social proof is even going to matter if the initial attraction isn't there in the first place, especially when you consider the fact that most couples these days meet through dating apps or social media. Now, pay attention because you need to understand this. In most cases, especially with online dating, but even in real life, you don't even get the chance to show your personality. You don't get the chance to show off your abundance mentality. If the woman you're approaching is not physically attracted to you, then she's going to dismiss you promptly. I mean, just think about how this plays out in real life. You walk up to a chick and you're like, "Hey there, I'm Timothy. I just wanted to get away from me, you loser." Okay, I know it's not usually going to be that bad. Most women will just say, "No thanks, I have a boyfriend," or something like that. But think about it. How would a man with infinite options react to that rejection? He'd probably say something like, okay, that's cool, have a nice day, and then they both part ways and never see each other again. So tell me, how useful was that abundance mindset? If she isn't already attracted to you, then you're just going to get dismissed from the start. How is a willingness to walk away going to help you get with women when all the women want you to walk away? Your looks are the ticket. Being confident and having an abundance mentality is surely a bonus when you're already being given a chance, but if you're not good looking, then you're not getting a chance. So your personality is irrelevant. But here's the other part of this. If you are not good looking as a man, and you've never had much luck with the ladies, you are chronically single and lonely, then how the hell are you not gonna be desperate? How are you supposed to just not care about the outcome when you don't actually have any other options? That's the thing. You can't just adopt the abundance mindset. You can't just decide to be confident. These things are just the natural result of your life experiences. If you have had lots of experiences throughout your life where women are always nice to you and they always want to talk to you and they express interest in you, then naturally you will probably be confident as a result. But if you've always been rejected throughout your life and females are always rude to you, or they act like you don't even exist, and you always get left on red anytime you've tried messaging a girl, if you have experiences like that, then you're not going to be confident and you're not going to have that natural willingness to walk away. So it's just irrelevant as a point of advice. Being good looking, or in some cases, perhaps being wealthy or very successful, that is what causes a man to have these supposedly attractive personality traits. Later in the video, Mark Manson brought up this study where men and women across 37 different countries all rated characteristics such as being kind and understanding as being more attractive than good looks. It's funny because you can see when he's bringing this up, he's looking down at his notes he brought with him. Like, he really thought this data was going to be the big trump card that nobody could possibly argue against.
His work across 37 different cultures found that women prioritize consistently across all cultures kindness and intelligence above all of other traits in terms of long-term partners.
This data is from survey results, by the way. Yeah, of course, when you ask women what they find the most attractive in a man, they're gonna say kindness is more important than looks. Fucking duh. But actions speak louder than words. Studies like this that are based solely on survey responses are useless. If you want to know what women actually find the most attractive, the only way to figure that out is through observation. And it's not because women are lying when they fill out these surveys. I'm sure most women, and men for that matter, actually do believe that they value kindness and understanding over physical attraction, because of course we'd all like to think of ourselves as being above our most base instincts. But how self-aware do you think the average person is? I don't really like to use this term because I don't think there's anything wrong with being mid intellectually, but using survey studies like this and just blindly trusting that what people say is actually in alignment with what people believe, it's such a mid-wit take. At best, what you're getting from a study like this is maybe a bit of insight into what women think they're supposed to value or what women wish they valued. What it doesn't tell you is what traits women actually select for. The only way you could get that information from a survey would be if all the women responding were completely self-aware and completely honest. And if you think any random group of survey respondents is going to have both of those qualities, then you are fucking retarded. I was a bit disappointed that nobody called him out on using survey results to bolster his argument, but the guy Mark Manson was debating at this particular moment, he actually had a pretty decent response.
Problem is that's of relationships that have already succeeded.
Right.
And so in the relationships that you say, it's, oh, he's so nice to me, he's so kind to me, he's so good to me. But she only wants those things from a man she's already attracted to begin with.
It's a good point. When you ask a woman what kind of man she finds most attractive, typically she's going to be answering that question under the assumption that she's supposed to be telling you what she finds attractive in a man she's already physically attracted to. They take the physical attraction as a given because they don't even consider men that don't meet their physical standards. It's like they forget unattractive men even exist. If you're familiar with the content creator Homath, he often talks about this concept of the not people zone, which is basically the idea that women tend to ignore the existence of men that they aren't physically attracted to. When women talk about how there's no good men anymore, men only want one thing, blah, 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 they're only talking about the small subset of men they find attractive, which in most cases happens to be the same small subset of men that every other woman finds attractive. So, I don't know, maybe it's just because they have the abundance mindset, but those men, chads as we sometimes refer to them, they are more likely than the general male population to refuse to commit, to play the field, so to speak, and they're probably more likely to cheat as well just because they actually have the option to do so. So that's why women sometimes get the impression that all men are just players and dating is easy for men and ridiculous opinions like that, because most men aren't even on a woman's radar. When they think about men, they're only thinking about physically attractive men. Now, I am getting a bit off topic, but all that is just to say, you can't just take a woman's word for it when she says that the most attractive trait a man can have is kindness or intelligence. If that were true, kind and intelligent men would be the men that get the most dates. I mean, think about it. Take intelligence, for example, which women rated as the second most valued trait a man can have, according to the study that Mark Manson cited. If intelligence was really that much more valued by women than physical attractiveness, then a successful Tinder profile would be one where a guy shows his IQ test results. But in reality, the main number women actually use to filter their results on dating apps is height. They're not filtering by IQ, they're filtering by height. Sure, some might filter by education level, which you could see as a proxy for intelligence, but I would argue intelligence isn't what they're concerned about when they're filtering by education. What they're concerned about there is income. I'm pretty sure the vast majority of women would absolutely refuse to date a man that is 2 standard deviations below the average height. So in the United States, for example, that would be 5 feet 4 inches tall. But a man that's 2 standard deviations below average in IQ, which is actually bordering on intellectual disability, if that stupid man is very good looking, he is not going to be struggling in his love life. Maybe he might struggle to hold on to long-term relationships, but that's only because intelligence is linked to impulse control. So that good-looking dumbass isn't going to be able to stop himself from giving all the women that throw themselves at him exactly what they want. And you know, because of the halo effect, a very stupid man that is very good-looking, people are just going to assume that he's a lot more intelligent than he actually is. That's how the halo effect works. People assume good things about you when you are good-looking. I mean, I don't think I really need to prove this point any further. I think it's just obvious to anyone that's paying attention that being intelligent is not going to attract women near as effectively as being physically attractive. The claim that men that like and respect women are the most attractive is such a blatantly bullshit statement. Even Mark Manson himself, the man that made the claim in the first place, doesn't really seem to believe it.
It is true, women are generally more attracted to men who have more resources, more status. It's just a fact of life. But I would argue that you can make up a lot of that simply through character, behavior, shared values, shared life experiences, and the way you communicate with a woman.
Listen to what he's saying. He says you can make up for being low status by essentially having a good personality. So what happened to the claim that the most attractive men are those who like and respect women? Say what you mean, Mark. Now you're saying, well, sure, women are attracted to looks, money, and status, but you can make up for a lot of that by having a good personality. Mark, my man, if personality factors were the more important factors in attracting women, then I think these things should more than make up for a lack of status. You're making it sound like you actually believe status is more fundamental to attraction than personality. In fact, believe it or not, by the end of the debate, Mark actually reveals that, much like the average woman, he too places the majority of men into the not people zone.
Looks absolutely matter. They matter most in the early phases, right? They get you the attention, they get you that first date. That said, I think once you get past that first date or that first impression, and especially once you get in the real world, when you actually get into like meeting women face to face, the value of looks proportionally to personality comes down. And I think once you get in, say a month into the relationship, it's almost not a factor anymore.
So I guess this whole time when he was arguing that personality is so much more attractive to women than looks, what he actually meant was that personality is more important than looks once you're already in a relationship. Jesus Christ, what a bait and switch. Or I don't know if it's a bait and switch exactly. I think he just doesn't realize that getting into a relationship in the first place is the difficult part for most men. Attracting women in the first place so you can get into a relationship, that's the part men are struggling with these days. It's such a brain-dead take. But again, it is painfully obvious that Mr. Manson here simply does not have any consideration for average and below average looking men. If he did have consideration for these men, then he would understand that looks is obviously more important than any aspect of your personality. Because without the looks, you most likely will never get into a relationship, meaning you'll never even get to the stage where your personality actually matters. It's an irrelevant point to make that personality is more important than looks once you're already in a long-term relationship, because if you're already at the point of being in a long-term relationship, that means that you must be good-looking enough to get into that relationship. You obviously are at least as good-looking as your girlfriend's or your wife's minimum looks threshold. So, yeah, of course, once you're past that threshold, then being any better looking is going to have some diminishing returns. I still wouldn't say personality is more important than looks, because you do still have to maintain your looks if you want to maintain your relationship. But it's silly to say that means that personality is more attractive than looks. In fact, it's actually a completely retarded statement. Look at it like this. Say we have two variables, variable A and variable B, that both contribute to a certain desired outcome. Now let's say variable A must be above average to achieve the desired outcome, but variable B can actually be below average, and you can still achieve the desired outcome as long as variable A is high enough. Well, of course, you would have to say that variable A is the more important of the two, even if variable B becomes more important after variable A has reached a certain minimum acceptable value. Whatever, fuck it. You get what I mean. Variable A is looks, variable B is personality, the desired outcome is attracting women, and Mark Manson is a fucking moron. If you enjoyed the video, please consider watching some of my other videos. There's also some secret videos you can watch for free on my Patreon, videos YouTube doesn't want you to see. So check it out, no sign up required. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.